Hello, everybody. I'm Rachel Araza. Welcome to the first day of the Create Your Own Musical Tarot Deck Challenge. I'm excited for this. Let's get comments up. I hope everybody is having a happy Monday. And we'll give it a couple minutes for everybody to show up. Let's see. And let's make sure I'm in the right group. Yes, I'm in the right group. Got sound. Yep, got sound. Let's make this bigger. Awesome. So yeah, hope everyone is having an awesome week. Today we're going to be talking about creating your own musical tarot deck. I'm going to teach you guys how to do shufflemancy and pretty much make a tarot deck using a musical playlist. If you're here, say hello. I see a couple people watching. I'm glad it's coming up for them. I've got comments on the side. So if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at comments. But also today, we're going to be talking about how this is the perfect solution to using your intuition in an everyday way. And if you've never actually used another type of divination before, this is a perfect way to get started by using something that you already know. Let's just say hello. And we will give it a couple more minutes. We will get started in a little bit. I really hope a lot of you will use this as initiative to really grow your intuition throughout this challenge. Because I know when I first got started, one of the biggest things I had issues with was relating tarot to everyday things for me so I could learn it. And one easy way was to really compare it to music. I adored it. Hello, Lori. She says, hi, excited, love music. I'm glad. I'm excited too. I can talk about music for forever. Let's mute this. Mute, please, for that one. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see, can I mute these two? No. Oh, hi, Marissa, hi. Anna's here. Hello, Anna. See and hear just fine. Thank you. I love my necklace too. My usual necklace I've got around my wrist. I still wanted to have it for today because it's a little magical thing for me. But yes, I felt the need to be fancy today for a fancy challenge. So to get started a little bit. So first of all, we use our intuition in everyday ways, right? We use it when we make decisions. Majority of the time we have our little Jiminy Cricket in the back of our head saying, yes, this is our conscience, do this, do not. Do not do this. So it's very much it's a driving mechanism for it. We use our intuition when literally driving. We use it when we figure out what we want to eat. And it's literally just the little voice in the back of our head that tells us the best path for us to go on, right? So it's like we're Pinocchio with hopefully less lying and big noses, and we have our intuition as our little Jiminy Cricket. The problem is we're not used to hearing this voice because of the society that we live in. Our intuition and our subconscious it's a super calm, quiet voice that unless that you're constantly tapping into it, its volume doesn't get very loud. Whereas our ego, our logical brain, it's constantly in the back of our head. And it's constantly arguing with our intuition. So it gives us what if situations. Are you sure that's the best path? It gives us, because we're in such a society that is based on immediate fulfillment, our ego likes to follow what will be the thing that'll make us happier quicker. You know, so we use fast food because we don't have time to cook or we don't feel like cooking. So that is a quick way to do it. Whereas our intuition would be sit home and cook a meal. to give a comparison. We also have cell phones now where if I just want to talk to somebody, I just got to call them or I can send them a text message. Whereas before we had to remember phone numbers and look them up in the phone book, or we had to literally go out of our house into society, into the world, oh my God, walk down the street and go say hi or send a letter. Different types of communication. Another thing that we have that really we don't really feel grateful for that much for is bank tracking. Instead of having to physically go to the bank to make sure that we had enough money, or we have a ledger and we write down all our transactions and everything, we can just open an app and swipe up and, oh, that's how much money I have right now. So because of this, usually our ego side, our side that is constantly jabbering away, that wants the quickest and easiest solution, not necessarily the better one for you, we're serving that more as opposed to our intuitive side that is never steering us wrong. It's just a matter of making the voice louder for our intuition so we can do it. So this week, well, because one thing about it is also there's just this impatience that drowns out our intuitive conscience, and that goes along with psychic abilities, and it goes along with reading tarot and doing any kind of energy work. That is all based off of our inner voice, our intuition, because we're always taught that there's a reason for everything, that there's logic behind everything. There's a psychological reason why you're having psychic visions and certain dreams and things like that, or even phobias. And if we can't prove immediately why something energetic would work, then automatically it's false. Who here has had that issue before? Ah, we have more people. Hi, Lena. Celine, no, it's not a moonstone necklace, but it's very pretty. It looks like it. Hi, Amethyst. Yes, she says, I love that gratitude for apps. Yes, be grateful for the ease of access, but also take pride in the things that take a little bit more work. So I know that I've had that thought in the back of my mind where if it's not hard to get, or if it can't be logically explained, then it obviously must not work. So this week, this is going to play a little bit into learning how to read tarot or just creating a deck, because we're taught that if you can't draw, or if you don't have something profound to say, or just creative in your own right, if you don't have any of that, then obviously you shouldn't make a deck, when that's not true. So this week we're going to blend a little bit of logic, and we're going to go into some logical systems, but also a little bit of magic and metaphysics. We're going to make a deck that you can take anywhere with you that is based off of a system, which is music. And we're going to use it for energetic purposes like we use for tarot cards. Yes. Oh, Lena understands. Yes. Awesome. Celine does too. So we already do a little bit of this with tarot reading, right? Because it's something visual. We look at an image, it reminds us of something in our life, and we relate it to the person we're reading for, or relate it to ourselves. So we're able to explain a situation. We can literally come up with the images in our minds. Music is very similar. It's used to evoke emotion and used to pretty much just express something, just like art can express something. Art is with tarot, music is for sound. So characters, like the major arcana, are based on stereotypes usually found in folklore. And we see these then in movies and psychological tests, in history and text, sociology, everything like that. And because they're based off of stereotypes that we already know in our life, things that we have experienced. So if we can blend the energy work and give it into these stereotypes and into these keywords almost, then we're able to give more relatable readings using just our intuition. So Music is very similar because it's all based around energy. Because in a tarot reading, all you really got to do is think of it is I am extending my energy out to you from wherever you are in the world. I receive the information back like a phone call and I interpret it in the cards. Same thing with music. I'm sending a signal, receiving it, and then I'm just interpreting the song. And the song that comes up is just displaying that information in a different way. Everybody with me so far? Do you have questions? Give me hearts or likes if you understand what I'm doing so far. And I'll take water break. Awesome. All right. People understand. Great. So, music works with vibration as well, and with energy. So when we act, or when we give an action, for example, pulling a string across a bow on a violin, or taking a bow and going, we, because of the action, create a vibration, and it, as a result, produces a sound. We cause the energy to happen. We can relate to different energies and different vibrations just like we relate to different tarot cards. We prefer some instruments over others. We prefer some sounds over others. And the first thing that really we get the basis of it for is genre. We all have preferences for genre that we like to listen to in music. Okay? So if you don't know what a genre is pretty much a subsection or a category within music. It's what defines a certain type of sound, sometimes a type of rhythm, or a type of vocal. If you know sheet music and you can literally look at the differences, the tempo will be different. You'll see notes on the staff that say to sing this in a certain way or to play this in a certain way. And depending on what is within your genre, that'll determine what's the directions being given to you. So every genre, as a result of that, has their own tone, has their own message, or ideas that they're trying to bring across. Okay? And usually we relate to them based on what we've been through in our lives. Usually the lyrics or the sound of it meshes with some part of us. So, for example, just to go through a couple of them. Classical music is different than rap. Of course, there's some similarities, but there's some differences. So, for example, classical music usually is very refined and elegant. It's usually instrumental. It can have vocals, but it's usually going into opera, where it was written as a service to a king or a monarch, and they were in a different language. So we have some that are like Carmen by Georges Bizet, where it's a what was it? I thought it was so funny. It was a French composer writing in French as well. He did it for the King of Germany, where it first premiered, and it's based in Spain. It's all over the place, but it has this type of refined elegance to it. You are expected to dress or act a certain way if you go to a classical concert as opposed to a rap concert. It also usually tells a story, either through ballet or through opera, and was used to communicate extreme emotion. And the songs, that'll also vary depending on the genre, usually were between 10 to 60 to sometimes 3 hours, like 10 to 60 minutes and sometimes beyond. So from this we get orchestras and quartets, which are just 4 players, usually a string quartet or a brass quartet. We have opera and ballet. Super easy. We have a refined area. If we vary a little bit, we go to jazz. So jazz it was used as a little bit of rebellion from the classical. Everybody was listening to classical. Jazz brought out the short 1920s fringe skirts and was super swingy, and, well, swing music is its own thing in jazz, but it brought out this sexual, sensual side. So literally, a classical chord would be very straight, whereas there are literal jazz chords that dip, or the harmonies are a little bit different because they have a little bit of a curve to it. There's some songs I remember doing in choir where I'm just listening to it and we're doing jazz and I'm like, this just sounds like melting chocolate. It's just, you can feel the liquid in it. And it's super risque like that, where you're supposed to melt into the song. So we have sliding notes, jazzes, harmonies. Some things that stem from this are big band, where if you think of the steamboats in the south of the United States with these giant orchestral bands that are playing super loud, it's called big band music, and that's literally what it was. And a lot of it was improv. Jazz does a lot of improv music, where they just make it up on the spot. We also have swing, and then we have the blues, which is super slow, but it's still got those same chords, you know? Let's see. Let's look. Kimberly. Yes, right on the nose with Carmen. Hi, Kimberly, by the way. I love it. Carmen is my favorite opera. I love her so much. She's so fun to play. All right, enjoy, Amethyst. Thank you so much for coming. Totally digging the essence. Yes, I do as well. Ah, it's a Christina. Hi, Christina. Anna says she likes big band. On the other hand, I like most music. Yeah, I love a bunch of music because they're all so fun. So to continue with this, let's explore some more types of music. So country is another American base, which I'm basing this off of my knowledge for American music. I will touch on some other music across the world, but I'm basing this mostly on Western Hemisphere, just so you know. So country is American based again, but it tells a specific story usually. When you think of country music, at least from my personal experience, I'm picturing a Caucasian male or woman, usually light hair or light skin at least, out on a prairie with a cowboy hat, very practical clothing, usually one instrument like a guitar, or if it's a group of country singers, sometimes they'll have spoons, they'll have banjos, things that are washboards, things that are easy to come by that they then use. This can veer a little bit into jazz, for like some country jazz. But they usually tell a story of something in their life, going down a road, their wife leaving them, something like that that's really relatable. They also have a twang to their voice. It's just the area of the country where they sing it. So, it literally sounds like a guitar if you pluck the string. Sometimes their voice will sound like that. So it's usually a singer with a single instrument or easy to grab instruments that is the tempos are very much the same, the sound is very much the same, but it gives a certain region. Okay. Another example, rock. Rock music, there is so much stuff in rock music. We can go hard rock, soft rock, alternative, metal, and even in metal, we got heavy metal, we got screamo, we got baby metal if you want to go over for J-pop and K-pop over on the eastern part of the world. And I mean Japanese pop, Korean pop, everything out there. There's so much in there. But it's another one of those rebellion types of musics where, like jazz, it was trying to veer from something else. Okay, so if you think of rock, usually it's a band of 4 to 5 members. We have a singer, a guitarist, sometimes they blend, a bassist, and a drummer. It can expand out. You can have more than one on there. Some bands nowadays include, like Apocalyptica, they have cellists in their music, but they are a metal band. And it actually sounds really beautiful. And basically, it portrays a lifestyle, usually a lot of black and purple and red. Some bright colors, if you think of Kiss. It portrays just this easy flowing of love, sex, rock and roll. Just living and being happy and being fun. It gives the image of a group of people just playing music because they love music, traveling across the country in an RV, and just partying and enjoying life. It's a certain type of music. And from this, like I said, we spawned punk and metal and grunge, and each of them have their own type of message, but still within that genre of I'm making music because I love to make music. Okay. And then we go to the complete opposite of pop. Pop music is usually really upbeat. It's very simple. It's in 4/4 time a lot of the time. It's in the key of C, to get technical a little bit. And you don't need a lot of technique. Of course, if you are classically trained and you do any of these other genres besides classical, it's apparent because you can hear it as compared to any other singer. Because I remember taking vocal classes and my teacher telling me, and it's so true, you can teach a country, a pop, a heavy metal singer, any of that classical, and they will have a smooth transition. But a classical singer to the other genres, especially pop, it's super hard because pop, a lot of the times, they purposely don't hit the notes. They go flat. They use a different part of the soft palate to sing. There's more strain on the vocal cords for some of it. They don't use diphthongs, which if you don't know what a diphthong is, when I say a word, basically it splits into different vowel sounds when you sing. So if I were to say there, I would say like, you would start with the, and you would go the very last vowel, you would say air at the very end. Pop will go there, it'll go immediately to the end. Whereas if I wanted to sing it correctly, it'd be there. I would do it at the very end. Because it sounds prettier. But if you listen to some songs, you can hear the diphthong is funky, and that's how you know that they're a pop singer. But there are some singers like Chris Cornell, who died recently, from Soundgarden and from Audioslave. He was classically trained, and you could hear it in the way that he sang and the way that he hit the notes. He was on point. So that's a little bit of a difference. You can also hear the difference, which this does make sense if you think about this in terms of characters. If you think of Diana Ross when she did Dorothy in The Wiz, if you listen to her singing the very last song, Home, you can tell she sings disco mostly. She's not classically trained, and you can hear it in the way she does her breath. Breath is super important. A lot of people don't think of this when they think of characters, how someone breathes. But when you do, it becomes super apparent. Because whenever I hear her sing it, she's like, when I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I could just hear her every couple beats, and you can hear it. You can tell she's not classically trained. She's not carrying it through to the next phrase and then quietly doing it and then carrying it quietly. So it's little things like this. Each of them represent different attitudes. Each of them represent different styles. And it makes it very fun. And it's going to drive you crazy throughout this week. We're going to go over a lot of this technical stuff. And you're going to get super nitpicky with it. And it's going to be, it's really going to help you make your deck. Because genres and the genres that people listen to really can define their personality. I was missing comments. Hang on. Let me scroll. Hello again, Lena. Christina, you're so sparkly. Yes, I'm sparkly. And there is always the bluegrass offshoot of country. Yes, Kimberly, bluegrass is off of country. It's that type of region. Christina, so since there's so many genres, could we create playlists with different personalities like this? Exactly, that's what I'm going to get into. Like, you can, if you think about it this way, in tarot reading, like I was talking about in the video a couple weeks ago, each deck has kind of its own genre, you know? We take a look at, for example, the Tattoo Tarot has a different sound, if it would have a sound, than the Everyday Witch. Okay? The Tattoo Tarot brings rock to mind. I'm thinking of leather and the royal color purple and crazy hair and wild nights. I'm thinking, because I associate that with tattoos. That's me personally. Whereas if we have the Everyday Witch, I'm thinking folk music, like He Is We. I'm thinking of something soothing that I might listen to in a coffee shop or while I'm walking down a country road. Because it looks like a deck in the country, but very simple. So it's two different sounds to go with two different decks. So the first challenge is realizing that each character, because today we're going to use genre to focus on the major arcana. Just to get you a general thing, because if we think about tarot cards, each of the tarot cards and the minors could be spawned or birthed by one of the majors. Okay? So the Nine of Swords could easily come from Death or the Tower. You know, they could copulate and create a card. They're usually lesser versions of the arcana of the majors. So we're going to focus on genre for the majors themselves because they kind of are genres. There's genres of happiness. There's genres of solitary and some of relaxation, some of suspense, things like that. So the genres that are within each of these cards define their personality. And it really depends on what you consider to be a part of the card that will determine whether or not it works for you. So for example, on how genre can define a personality. Growing up, I am in a very, my family, which I am half Black, half Caucasian, I have like an eighth Native American in me. My grandparents, who majority of the time raised me, I grew up with the Black side of my family. And they're from North Carolina and from Georgia. My grandmother, her personality can be given to you just by the music that she listens to. She listens to Motown, jazz, and church music, specifically for Jehovah's Witnesses. And there's two different types of church music. It kind of goes with classical, with hymns and everything. But she is more full choral to a very simple piano background. So it fits what she listens to growing up. So if you walk into her house, there's a lot of James Brown, a lot of Luther Vandross. She literally has a jukebox right by the front door filled of nothing but 45 and 50s records. She has a record player that she carries around with her. So she listens to the Four Tops, Temptations, all that kind of stuff, because that's what she grew up with. That defines her personality, and you can see it everywhere in the house. And you can see it in how her attitude is and how she presents herself. My uncle, her son, he listens to a lot of rap, like hardcore rap. He listens to a lot of heavy metal, a lot of rock, and a lot of world music. Like, he listens to Gogol Bordello. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Look up the song Start Wearing Purple. It's a funky song, but it's super fun. He listens to stuff like that, where it's a little bit out there. It's usually some guy from the middle of some other country that's a little bit nuts, and he listens to it. And that defines him. He listens to stuff like that. My mother, she was a DJ, so she listens to a lot of 80s pop. She listens to some rap, some nowadays pop, a lot of dance music, a lot of disco. The number of times she has gone through the house singing Macho Man was ridiculous. Or Rock Lobster by the B-52s. and a lot of Latin music. She was a huge fan of Ricky Martin. So that defines her. She's all over the place and eclectic. You can see where I kind of get it from. And then, so that defined my childhood. And that really cemented personalities for me. And then when I got married, my husband is from, he was born here, but he's from the Bronx in New York. He listens to a lot of ghetto and gangster rap. NWC with Dr. Dre and, no, NWA with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube are very huge for him. He listens to a lot of heavy metal, a lot of grunge. He has a grunge bass voice. He's very punk, and he has some screamo in him. So all these different people, you can get an image in your mind of who they are just from the music they listen to. So your tarot cards are very much the same way. If you could pick a genre of music that the High Priestess listens to, what would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Let's see, Lena, Chris Cornell. Yes, I loved him. Kimberly says, I'm already thinking of video game soundtracks from my Major Arcana, especially Skyrim. Ooh, yes. There is a wonderful rendition of the Dragonborn Comes on YouTube, which if you guys don't know Skyrim, it's based among the time of Nords and pretty much Vikings, and it's very soft and mellow, usually a single singer with a lyre, which is a very Renaissance type guitar, which with a very particular sound. There's also a lot of male like vocals into it that's super strong because it's Nords and you know, they sing it on ships. One thing that also comes to mind for me, not for the High Priestess, Celine says classical for the High Priestess, awesome. For the Chariot, now Kimberly that you mentioned video games, I'm thinking of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which if you guys don't know this, I'm a nerd. It's based with pirates, and anybody who plays Assassin's Creed, I love Assassin's Creed. Anything with assassins and sneakiness, that's me. And throughout the entire song, whenever you're on the ship, as you go from different ports throughout the Caribbean, you will pick up songs. So I think of Old Billy Riley and Blow the Man Down and all that kind of stuff. I can literally hear I can hear the shipmates singing it in my head and the breeze going, and I think of that for the Chariot, where they're just, the Sphinxes are singing while the dude is riding the chariot and he's just stoic. Nerd pride, yes. Yes, Kimberly, highly mystical and fantasy soundtrack, especially exploration music in Skyrim, exactly. Lena says, High Priestess, maybe something from Judas Priest. Ooh. Oh, Lena, for Judas Priest, if you guys have not, I wouldn't give her a genre. I would literally give her Maria Brinks from In This Moment. Literally her song, Oh Lord. I love it. I adore it. That, to me, is the High Priestess. Not just because she's got the triple moon and she's holding up a bunch of moons above her head, but she does a song, Black Wedding, with Judas Priest. And it is beautifully done. Listen to it. It's wonderful. It's In This Moment in Judas Priest. Let's see, Svetlana. Hi, Svetlana. She says, Priestess, a woman-fronted melodic metal band. Ooh, I have new music to look at. Ooh, I like that. Super fun. Celine says 80s songs suit him for the Chariot. That'd be interesting. Marissa says High Priestess, something like new age music or trip hop. Yeah, definitely could be. So you already have the wheels turning in your head. And this is what you're going to be doing today. And it's going to be super fun. So one thing to keep in mind with this is sometimes it's okay for one character to not be a single genre. All the people I've told you about in my life, they're not just one genre, they're a blend, especially my mother. So even myself, I don't think about, if you were a card, what music would you be? You know, because me personally, I love all the stuff that I have been with throughout my childhood. That's why I have so much music. Plus I listen to opera and show tunes and video game soundtracks and a lot of easy listening like Sade, and big band and classical and all kinds of things. So think about that with your cards. Sometimes they don't fit into one specific genre. Like the Hermit can be very much of one kind of genre. He could be folk music, but depending on the deck that you are using as inspiration for, if you're picking up a deck and using it as inspiration for your Audible deck, it could change. Like if I'm using the Royo Dark Tarot, which is very sexual, I wouldn't put a folk song with the Hermit. I would put something darker, like maybe Concrete Blonde, that type of rock music where it's ba-dum, it's super low key and it's grungy and it makes you think of Interview with a Vampire on the Bayou, and it's out in the country, but at the same time it's really deep voiced. Stuff like that. So let's think of another card, because this can really also help you with cards that are difficult to understand for you. So let's take Judgment. Judgment can be really hard for me sometimes depending on what the judgment is about. What song would you put with Judgment? Or what genre would you put with it? I'm thinking of Dies Irae, classical music. Quantus remores futurus. It sounds like the end of the world is coming. But that's not all the time what happens with Judgment. So perhaps it's almost like the music from Fantasia, if you guys watch it. I know it's on Netflix. Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 that Disney did. You can watch that for inspiration. And it's super swelling, you know. So what would you put for Judgment? Let me know in the comments. Because I Love You song. What do you think? Anna, thanks. I need inspiration now, I guess. This is one thing to help as well. If you guys have a hard time finding any kind of creative inspiration, this is the perfect challenge to get started with doing this. Kimberly, those were my companions during my prelim defense last year, especially the Nutcracker and dinosaur sequences. Yeah. It's super classical. Lena says definitely some opera or something like Wagner for Judgment. Yeah, something harsh, like German opera. I'm thinking of the stories, like the German operas they do about Greek tragedies. Something like that, where there's a specific opera, I can't remember the name, about Zeus putting his daughter up on a mountain in a cage, and whatever man is not afraid of me will go and get her. Anna, Lena, you might know this. Maybe Anna. And then, like, just this blacksmith hammer while he's singing in deep German and bass. That's what comes to my mind for Judgment. Let's Kimberly, I'm kind of thinking Starlight by the Waylon Jennings. Okay, that could definitely work. Marissa, experimental music like Icelandic for Judgment? Ooh. It could be. It could give a kind of ambiance to it. That's for sure. Something with balls. Totally okay, Lena. Could be Big Balls. I think it's by AC/DC. It could be. For Judgment. So, let's think of something. Let's think of another troublesome card. Like the Devil. the devil is super fun because there's different types of oppression that can come with the devil. You have sexual oppression, especially if it's reversed. It could be an abusive relationship. You could very well have, let's see, you could have physical repression. So one genre that we didn't cover here were Old South slave songs. Could definitely be the devil. It could definitely be. No music is off limits here, okay? I want you guys to explore. Another thing that could work as well, I'm thinking of Farewell My Concubine, where it's that type of Chinese opera that is very, the people are enslaved to their roles. Things like that. Which, touching on Eastern music, because I didn't touch on that, there's all kinds of stuff that you can use over there. You don't have to use exclusively Western music. There's music from all over the world you can use, which we're going to touch on more throughout this week, especially in instruments. I'll go over it, because they can give a certain type of sound. The Hermit, a lot to me, reminds me of... I can't remember the name of the specific instrument off the top of my head right now that they use for Asian music, usually during kabuki and their theater, where it's laid flat on the ground and they pluck it like this. It's super beautiful. I loved going to see one live. It was super gorgeous. But that could give a little bit of a hermit thing, because it kind of gives a journey to the mountains, to a monastery kind of vibe, like the hermit would do. Let's see, what else? Hi, Krista! Ooh, let's see. Hang on. Lena says, AC/DC is for kids. They're so more ballsy metal. Svetlana says, Mouth by Bush. Ooh, I love Bush. Bush is a wonderful band. Kimberly says, Dirty Deeds AC/DC for the devil. Yeah, that could work. Hi, Krista. Let's see. Marissa says, that's cool because I was thinking of blues, not like party blues, but less fun sounding blues. Okay, so not, this is the kind of blues that is repetitious, like jazz blues. And one thing, because it just came to mind to think about here, depending on the image that you have, that you want displayed in your card. So for example, let's take Judgment again, where it's the ending of something, consequences lead to actions. Certain types of music were used for different events. So for example, the wedding march that we have, in just the wedding context, it's supposed to be happy. Like da dun da 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 dun da da. But if you think of the classical context, the actual opera that song came from, someone was about to be beheaded at the end of that. Another thing to think about with genres, in specifically, a lot of big band jazz music was used for funerals. But if you think about it, they're like, it's happy music though. That was the thing though, it depends on the culture. For New Orleans, that type of jazz, they wanted to celebrate your life, not remember you in sadness. So there's this image of, the Southern funerals where the woman is weeping and falling all over the casket and they're howling and all that kind of stuff. But then we have another section with jazz that people are dancing with the coffin down the street. You have these huge bands. They literally have an orchestra playing and they have a conductor in the front and he's jamming because they're taking the casket to the graveyard and they're celebrating the guy's life on the way there. So that's Louis Armstrong type stuff. That's, it's really big band. So think of using some of these genres in different contexts, because sometimes we take clips from songs or we take different types of music from different places, and when put into a separate context, they're a little bit different. let's see. So going with Marissa's not party blues, it's less fun sounding blues. I'm thinking of Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, where it's super low and it's slow and you can tell that the guy is crying while he's probably singing it. And it's very low key. Whereas party blues, another type of blues that you want to do, maybe So Sick by Neo, where he's just like, I'm tired of love songs, but I don't want to let go of you because I miss you, kind of thing. It's a different type of blues, you know. Not as soulful, different type of sadness, you know. Krista says, I think Frank Sinatra would be good for the world card for some reason. Perhaps. I always get Frank Sinatra for the Wheel of Fortune, because the Wheel of Fortune usually is for luck, and I think of Luck Be a Lady, which reminds me of Guys and Dolls. And Frank Sinatra has a version of Luck Be a Lady, but I like the Marlon Brando version a little better. So different things like that. Another thing that could help you, if you don't know the specific type of music and you're not a musical person, like in the past I've told you, use movies to help you figure out characters in a card. Do the exact same thing when it comes to figuring out these characters and music to go with it. So I have Gone with the Wind in my head right now. The moment when Rhett Butler is leaving to go to war, and he's leaving Scarlett O'Hara with she's going home. And I'm thinking of the sunset, and she swooned back like this, and they're like this far apart, you know? So that scene is full of a lot of beautiful classical music, but it portrays a very specific mood. So it's almost like Temperance, where you have a little bit of healing. She's going home to take care of this baby and this woman she just helped give birth with. But there's a little bit of loss still. It's something you saw coming because Rhett Butler wants to be better for Scarlett and that kind of thing. Even though she don't deserve it. Scarlett doesn't deserve it. But that kind of thing. So if you're having trouble thinking of a specific song, what is a scene from a movie or even from a book that you could use to relate to a type of music to help you? And pick any card. Krista, I've never still seen that movie, surprisingly. It's a very good movie. It's a very long book. There's 2 books, and they're super, super long. But they're very good. It gives you another type of time period. It's the Southern Belle part of the Civil War. Ooh, Scarlett. Kimberly. I despise Scarlett so much. She irks me. That kind of person irks me. Chris says, I'm a lot more visual, so it'll be easier relating books and movies to cards, I think. Yeah, so do that there. So let's try this for the more visual people on how to make a musical deck using visuals. One thing that helps me is looking at music videos. Whenever I do a Shufflemancy reading, which is pretty much what we're starting here, we're helping you have a translation into Shufflemancy. I like to look up the song, look up the sheet music because I get the visual in front of me, and then I look up the music video to see how it goes with it. Because sometimes the music video can tell more about the song than the song itself. So, for example, let's take We'll Be Together by Sting and the Police. Let's take this song. The entire song, he's howling. He's talking about how he'll be together with this woman tonight and how he can see them going everywhere together and they can do everything, you know, together. The song is We'll Be Together. In the actual music video, it's got him dressed and he's got glasses on and he's watching this woman walk through this bar and he wants to be with her. This is all the stuff he's saying in his head. And then the guy she comes in with is also him, but he's falling down drunk and punching people in the face. So it gives 2 sides of the coin, where he says at one point, I see you and me and baby makes 3. Okay, so him being nice and calm and sitting in the corner reading a book could very well do that. but not the guy falling down drunk in the other side of the room. It gives an interesting visual back and forth, and it shows how the song could relate to two halves of a coin, so two halves of the lovers, where they're really calm, and then they're really not calm. There's a little bit of an obsession here in this song. Does that make sense? Kimberly, I like epic movies with archetypes, so Harry Potter movies, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and those movies, if you think about it, Kimberly, are actually really easy to make tarot cards from. That's why there's so many fan depictions of tarot cards from those movies, because you have these really strong archetype characters in this music that swells in the background. You think of the devil, you think of Darth Vader, and the music that comes with him, boom, 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 ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, you think of that, okay? And sometimes it does help to think of one of those characters from those big epic movies that have a soundtrack to go with them, because we're going to get to this later in the week with instruments, but that's for the longest time how people, before there were vocals in movies, when it was all silent and music, that's how they depicted a certain character talking, was through the sound that went with them. Okay, and we'll get into a specific example with that later. But yeah, do you guys have any questions about how to do this? Because your task for today is, first of all, to do this workbook that'll help you dig a little bit more into this and make it easier for you to figure this out. And to create the first 22 songs of your tarot playlist, of your musical playlist. You're going to build your deck today. And you can do this either by going on YouTube, finding the song, and then making it a playlist and sharing the playlist link, or in the workbook itself, the very last page has where you can write out all the songs. And there's some questions in there to help you go. One thing I'd like to try out for this challenge, to keep everything organized so you guys don't have to comment in the same thing, is to use hashtags. So the hashtag for today is Music Deck 1. To organize our challenge posts for today. So use that hashtag to organize everything. Just make sure it's in the post. I'll go through and fix it if no one else did it. And explore this. Have fun. This isn't supposed to be something to freak you out. You're not going to be graded on how good your songs are. This is an opportunity for you to explore a little bit with your feminine side, for you to discover new types of musics. Maybe somebody posts a song that you didn't even think about using for one of the cards, and it helps you. And to learn a little bit more about each other and activate your intuition in a new way. Because we're so used to the visual here with tarot, so venturing a little bit into the audio is going to be very, very fun. So you guys have questions? Anything like that? We've been going for almost an hour. Finger. Let's see. Give me hearts and thumbs if you're good. And I will share my own too. I'm doing this challenge with you guys. It's super fun. And I love music. So this is going to be fun to see what kind of musical taste everybody else has. Awesome. I'm glad. I'm excited to see what you come up with too, Kimberly. This is going to be super fun. Awesome. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. All the live streams this week, by the way, will be at noon Mountain Standard Time. So this time, so definitely let me know if you ever have questions. Post in the group when we participate in this. That's how a lot of us grow and really go together. So have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.